to me, question 7 is fascinating. In chapter 11, Ibram gets into a critique and evaluation of whether Black people who have risen to positions of authority have done enough to fight racism. And he talks about Black police officers, Black faculty members, Black politicians, Black business people. And he even speaks about President Obama and says, quote, when a Black man stepped into the most powerful office in the world in 2009, his policies were often excused by apologists who said he didn't have executive power, as if none of his executive orders were carried out. Neither of his Black attorneys general had any power to roll back mass incarceration, or his Black national security advisor had no power. So as I read this chapter, it was almost like me, a white person, looking in on a family conversation among Black people about whether Black people who are rising to positions of authority are doing enough to be anti-racist. And when I heard him critique President Obama, I almost felt an emotional reaction to that because I admire him so much. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on this critique of Black officials, and how do you decide how much is enough? Whether a Black person has been anti-racist enough in their role as a faculty member or a business owner or a president?
I feel like all of those situations need to be taken individually. You know, we cannot make some broad statement, as Dr. Kendi does, that I don't think he's actually asserting that all Black people who reach certain levels, don't do enough. But every situation has to be taken individually. President Obama, for my 2 cents, is always been above reproach. Like, he reached the highest office, he reached the pinnacle, the dream was fulfilled. He said that he would be the president for all of the people. And that carries a lot of weight versus a president who seems to be only fixated on his base and one group of people. I think it's harder to come out and say, I'm going to do what's best for the entire country and not just Black people. The problem, I think the great thing is when you do positive legislation or executive orders for healthcare, bringing jobs to the country, this is beneficial to the entire community, Black people included. So I'm a little leery of Black people who tend to criticize President Obama. Now we look at the case of Breonna Taylor. The Attorney General was a Black man, and a lot of Black people were offended because he has the power to speak out against racist ideas or racist thoughts that may have contributed specifically to the type of policing that ended with Breonna Taylor's death.
So Robert's talking about Kentucky's Black Attorney General, who this week decided not to file charges related to the death of Breonna Taylor. And it was interesting to see him standing up there and taking that position.
When he's in a position of power to say, we have to change policing methods. You know, there was something that was done here that was done wrong. He took the position of the police were fired on, so they had the right to fire back. Right. But the person who fired the gun did not die. The person without a gun in her hand died. And this speaks to a larger image. There's been a lot of controversy in the Black community about this is not the same case as George Floyd. This is a different scenario, different circumstances. But it speaks to the time that we live in. Our last video was about the Black body and what people see when they see a Black person. And if the immediate reaction is, this person is dangerous, if I don't kill them, my life is in danger, based on no fact. This is the problem with the way that we police in the United States. There needs to be more consideration. But yeah, back to the question, I went off on a tangent. There are opportunities for Black people in powerful positions to challenge racist ideas. Do they always do that? Who can say? Who makes that decision? If you're Kamala Harris and you're a prosecutor in California and you put a lot of men in prison, that comes back to haunt you and look like you are putting too many Black men in prison. But you have a job to do, and these people still are accountable to someone. You may be a Black police officer, you still have a job to do. And there's still the white power in play that says you cannot just not do your job because you think that what we've asked you to do is racist. You still have a job to do.
It makes me realize how much pressure is on Black people in positions of authority.
Right, to do the right thing or to do what you're hired to do.
And knowing that they're constantly being judged.
And there are consequences. So you have a nice position, and if you don't act correctly, you won't have that position any longer. And what?
Let's talk.